This is Woodside Church Kids.
Hey everyone, welcome to this week's video. My name is Matty and this is for the kids in Excite. A couple of weeks ago we learned about the story of Moses, about how God chose him to lead God's people called the Israelites out of Egypt and to this land that God had promised to give to them. A really, really good land. And this week we're going to follow on from that story and look at another guy who was Moses' helper, and his name was Joshua. So I'm going to read this week from a story called, from the Beginner's Bible, in a story called 12 Spies. Finally, God's people came to the land that God had promised them. God said, "Send some men into the land and see what it's like." So Moses chose 12 men, and he said, "Go into the land and then come back and tell us if it's good or bad. Are the people strong or weak?" The men went into the new land and they brought back some fruit. They said, "It's a good land, but the people are strong. They will fight us and they'll win." The Israelites were afraid. "We cannot take the land," they said. Now Joshua and Caleb said, "Do not be afraid, because God is with us." The people would not listen to them, and God was angry with his people. They did not believe he would help them. So God said, "You cannot have the land yet. You will have to travel for another 40 years. And that's exactly what they did. See, God had promised to give this land to the Israelites, to God's people, but they were afraid because they didn't have enough faith, they didn't believe enough, and they didn't trust God. But Joshua and Caleb were brave. They trusted that God would help them. Even though the people were very scary, Joshua and Caleb knew that God would help them. God's people then started to wander in the wilderness. They just wandered around in this desert for 40 years until Joshua became the leader, and eventually he led them into the promised land, the land of Canaan. But what can we learn from this story? Well, when there are scary things in the way of what God has promised us, just like Joshua and Caleb, we can be brave and we can trust in him. So when God has promised to give us things and do good things for us, we can trust that he will be with us until we get to that promise. And that is the story of Joshua and the time that he scouted out this promised land. Now in this week's Woodside Kid Weekly, our craft is looking at bookmarks to help us remember how good this land was and how much good food this was in the land of Canaan. Our activity is looking at some faces to help us remember how Joshua responded to God and how Joshua trusted God. And our challenge this week is looking at a fruit salad. This promised land that God had given to these people was a really, really good land. And so our challenge is looking at fruit salad to help us remember that. So that's it for this week. Until next week, keep well, love one another, and chat to Jesus. Bye!